Hello and welcome back to my series of videos about old calculators. In a previous video I talked about this device here, which is TIM, T-I-M, time is money, and this was made in early 1900, and it was really a mechanical calculator adding numbers. But the very nice thing about this one is that you can move the cursor here on the top, and instead of adding the number you can add 10 times the number, or 100 times, or 1,000 times. So in fact you could do multiplication using this machine here. And very curiously also, this was based on the design by a guy named Leibniz, who lived 200 years ago. So 200 years later, we came up with this machine here, which means that he was not so much as almost a genius. So let me move that away from now. And it's very heavy. And I want to go back to a regular calculator, the hp75D. And I know some of you will say, this is not a calculator, this is a mini computer, and you're right. It's not really a calculator, but I want to put that into this video because two reasons. One of them is because I love HP. I loved, with a D at the end, HP. HP was very nice during the first years, and I worked a long time for them. And also because this is really a very nice calculating device, which was kind of apart from the rest of the group. So what's in the box? Opening that, found a brochure here with all the device and all the peripherals and everything. We find a very big user manual. So first thing you say is, with a user manual this big, you can do a bunch of stuff, and you're right. This device can be used to do many things. What else? We have this small box here that I will talk about that later. And finally we have this very nice box here, where inside of this, you see, this is to bring with you in the field, so it's very sturdy. You know, you can put the calculator inside and nothing will happen to it. And finally, inside this box, the hp75D, and just a note, there was a 75C. I don't know if there was an A or a B, I never heard about that, but the difference between the C and the D was the memory and also one of the interface here. So let's go around the calculator and see what we can tell about that. First, on the back here, we have a couple of input-output, and this was the HPHIL standard. Here you have a round connector, which was used for a barcode reader, and this was the power supply. I'll put that later. Then on the bottom of that, you have a couple of slots here where you can put additional card, memory or pre-programmed cards. So a couple of extensions, and the battery, and that's pretty much it. So one thing I wanted to say about that is, and this is true for all the calculators with batteries, a common problem is that if you leave the battery inside and keep the calculator for a long time, what will happen is that one of the contacts here will corrode and break, and you can see that this one is broken, which is not a big deal. You can always fix that. But as a general rule of thumb here, if you have a calculator with battery, rechargeable battery or battery, never leave them inside if you want to keep them for a long time. I bought this one this way, but I'll fix it later. And oh, by the way, look at the size of the battery. It's very small, like 3 AA batteries. And that's pretty much it. So now that we have seen around the calculator. What can we say about that? Well, this one came out in the 80s, 1984, I would say, and it was sold for a couple of years, so 84, 85, 86, and it was sold for a hefty price. It was like a few dollars below $1,000, 995. So as you can say, this is not a toy. This is not something that you would buy for your kid when they go to school. This was really a tool for manufacturing. This was a tool for companies where they had to do some real work with it, either programming or most of the time, because of the barcode reader here, this was used in factory where they could keep track of the inventory or things like that. So again, not a toy and not so cheap. And 1984, if you remember, that was also the time where the first PC came out, and at that time the PC was something like $2,500, $3,000. But this you could put in your pocket. I mean, you need a big pocket, but you can bring that with you anywhere. You have batteries inside. A PC, that was another story. So now let's pause for a moment and we'll talk about the rest. So what else can we say about this? Well, first let me plug the power supply, because as I showed you, the battery connector is not working. And let's turn this one on. And if you look around, you'll say, how do you turn it on? There's no on switch here, anywhere. And if you look at all the keys, none of them say on or off. So there's a trick here. You have to press this key, which says ATTN, like attention. And this is how you turn it on. And what you can see here, the first thing that you will see on the display is you have to set up the time and date and so on, because I don't have the battery inside, so every time I power it on, I have to set this one on. But anyway, let's get out of this and go into programming mode. This is running BASIC. So BASIC was a programming language, one of the first programming language where you had a basic operation, but that was kind of very powerful too at the same time. You could write pretty much everything. And one of the commands that you can use is this one, MEM, which will tell you the amount of memory that you have on this machine. 22,463, 24K. Can you believe that? This was the extended version of the 75C. The 75C had only 18K. What can you do with 18K? Not much. What can you do with 24? A bunch. So anyway, that's the idea with this calculator. And one other feature that was very nice, and you can barely see that here, but there is an opening here, and this is where we will use the small box here. And this small box contains some magnetic stripes here that you can put into the 75D, and you can read and write programs on these here. Of course, you cannot write a lot, but if you look on this side here, this is where the magnetic side of it is. You can write 650 bytes on one side and 600 on the other side. So that's about 1.3K byte on one small magnetic strip here. And the other advantage of this calculator is that there is no motor for the magnetic stripe here. What you have to do is put that in the slot here, push here, and when you have like half an inch of it, just pull with a constant speed, and you can read or write on the card, on the magnetic card. So this one came up with a bunch of examples, and some of them blank, so I can write and read my programs and save them on this, which was very nice at the time and didn't take a lot of space. You see, that's the size of the memory card. So anyway, I think that's pretty much what we can say about this device. I could show you some programming on it, but this is more like basic, and there's a bunch of video already about programming in BASIC. So I just wanted to go around this one and show you that this was a very nice device, but not, as I said, this was not really a toy, because at $1,000 in 1984 was more than the average salary of everyone. So it was mainly used for factories. So thank you for watching, and next time we'll talk about something completely different, as usual. Bye.